girl with a preppy vibe. Came to the spot with a friend of mine. She caught my eye. From the beginning, I was hooked. I can't tell a lie. Fresh, dressed, and fly. I respect her mind. Some dude trying to impress, but looking goofy at the same time. He bugging, she looking. I'm going for mine. Confidently, I approach with that eye-to-eye contact. She smiling while adjusting her hair, so I smile back. Pretty girl, what's your name? She said, is that true? Cause if it is, your name perfect for you. My name handsome. She said your name fits you too. See, we was clicking, and after that, time just flew. Then that time came to talk to her pops. He gave his blessing, and then that mind frame I had was honoring and protecting. I knew she was the one when we met. I found my future girl, and no other woman compares to my girl. Cause yeah, I knew it from the start.
Hey y'all, welcome to the check-in. I got so many things I be forgetting, Carl, honey. Welcome to the check-in live stream. Yes, coming at you on a Thursday night. I cannot wait for tomorrow. So we have Mr. Lou in the house saying where the fans at. Hey, guess what? I have learned how I can go onto YouTube Studios on the website and I can see the live chat and I can create a poll. So I'm gonna try and do that right now. Yes, let's see. Let me see if I can make that happen. So how are you guys doing today? Yes. How are you guys doing on this wonderful Thursday? And by the way, I did start the live stream a couple minutes early because you know what, I can't be running late no more. I'm trying to be on time. Yes. Let me see if I can update this. I'm right. Okay. Yes, you already know. Let me put here. I'm about to do that now. And then we're gonna put here, not yet. Hold on, y'all. I'm doing this little poll right real quick. Not yet. Let me warm up. Okay, we'll see how that works. Okay. So I wonder how this gonna look. Okay, so do you all see the little poll I came up with? Yeah, let me go onto YouTube here and see how it looks for myself. But anyway, y'all, how are you guys doing today? I had a good day today. I went into the office and I had me some Panera and I had this breakfast sandwich that was on Asiaga bagel type of bread. It was actually pretty good. Yes, I really enjoyed it. But yes, so I'm getting myself set up here. I got a lot for us to go through today, and I'm gonna get that started in just a second. I just wanna get my bearings together real fast. Okay, so let's check this out here. Ooh, I got this up loud here. Okay, I got that down. So do you all see the little survey that I had came up with? I don't see it. Okay, well, I tried. Well, anyway, y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and get some things started. The first thing we got for tonight is this situation that took place in New York with this person having a mental health crisis and their family reached out to the police and it didn't end well, y'all. So let's go ahead and get into that, okay? First up.
Put the knife down! Put the knife down!
Chilling new video of the moment the NYPD says a young man charged at officers with a knife. Police opened fire. The 22-year-old survived but remains in the hospital.
The case reigniting the debate over the response to someone having a mental episode.
Anthony Carlo with the video and what the mayor is saying.
How you doing?
Are you cold?
You call?
Yes.
Body-worn camera depicts NYPD officers being let into the home after the young man's parents called 911 about their son being in emotional distress. What begins as a standard response takes a turbulent turn as soon as the young man.
So you know it had to be chaotic in that household if the parents went ahead and called, the authorities to kind of help them with their son. I've seen where individuals that have kids with autism and things like that, those kids can be a little aggressive, okay? So I can only imagine what they've been going through. And I just don't know if they should consider placing the child in some supervised care, if you will, because sometimes once kids get to a certain, this child is 22, 24, with all of the strength that they have, it could be a lot to deal with, hence them calling the police trying to get some assistance. Let me just go ahead and play out. I just don't know
Sees
what
the
I would do.
police.
Bye-bye, bye-bye, no! Hey, put the knife down! Put the knife down! Put the knife down!
A family member tries to stop Jabez Chakraborty from advancing toward the retreating officer with a kitchen knife.
Put the knife down! Put the knife down!
And that's not a butter knife.
We briefly pause the video here to avoid showing the young man being shot.
The armed male was able to push through the closed door and continue to advance toward the officers with the kitchen knife in hand. At this point, officers discharged their weapon at the armed male.
Drop the knife!
This is the kitchen knife police say the 22-year-old was armed with on the morning of January 26th. But as Mayor Mamdani pointed out today, the encounter is more complex than what's on video.
Jabez has lived with schizophrenia for many years, and this situation underscores just how urgently we need a different and more effective mental health response system that will be.
This is the thing, he has a butcher knife, I'm gonna call it. It's running towards the policeman, and they probably like, you know what? They don't know if this person is not going to harm them. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's why the parents called to get assistance to begin with. So I'm interested to find out like what kind of mental health system is Mandani going to put in place? Because even if you were to bring out like mental health counselors in these situations, like if someone's coming at you with a knife, is that mental health counselor going to be equipped with the right words, if you will, to stop the advancement? I mean, they had a family member trying to stop this individual from advancing towards the police, and he was still going. So, what do you guys think about that? Let's keep it rolling.
New Yorkers who struggle with mental health concerns for their families and for police officers. Jabez needs mental health treatment, not criminal prosecution.
This is now Exhibit A in the mayor's push to create a Department of Community Safety, shifting many crisis calls away from the police and toward mental health workers instead.
As I've said, when there is a violent situation, such as with a weapon, NYPD will be on the scene.
If you're going to send only medical professionals there, understand that it's a changing dynamic. Quickly, they can pick up a weapon and charge at them. What are they going to do then?
It's a heavily criticized proposal, and there are still many questions about what it would look like. The mayor says that's all the focus of internal conversations in developing this different approach. The family of the young man who survived says they called 911 for medical attention, and instead their son was shot in front of them. Mike, Sade.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. And I understand what Mondani was saying. This person needs, mental health attention or not criminal charges. But I mean, yeah, it's going to create a situation where parents and family are not going to want to reach out to the police for assistance in those type of instances because they're going to be concerned about, okay, is the police going to end up harming my loved one who's having a mental health challenge, so I don't know what the right answer is, honestly. I don't know if this individual can have a normal life if taking proper medication, and maybe he just didn't take the meds, that day. I really don't know what the scenario is, but I'm interested in seeing what they put in place to try to help folks in this situation where the person having the episode is still, protected, and then the police or the healthcare provider is not harmed either. So that's the ultimate situation, right? So we're gonna keep it moving. Next we have this burnt out ICE attorney and her day in court. Let's check this out.
Live, and Paul, this attorney appeared emotional as she tried to explain why ICE is repeatedly violating court orders.
Simone and Randy, one ICE attorney said the agency simply was not prepared to argue all these cases in federal court, and that the U.S. Attorney's Office is now working around the clock to comply with judicial orders and to make sure people wrongfully detained are actually released. Our cameras rolling on Tuesday as Department of Justice Attorney Julie Lee arrived with colleague Anna Voss for a hearing in federal district court. Lee, an ICE attorney who typically works in immigration court, volunteered for the U.S. Attorney's Office last month. She said in court, quote, "I'm here to make sure the agency," meaning ICE, "understands how important it is to comply with court orders," likening it to, quote, "pulling teeth." She admitted the Department of Justice provided no guidance or direction in navigating the legal and constitutional side of the immigration crackdown when she first started in that new role. At one point, she told the judge, quote, "I wish you would just hold me in contempt so I can get 24 hours of sleep." Lee was ordered into court by U.S. District Judge Jerry Blackwell. Blackwell is frustrated with ICE ignoring or not complying with his court orders for the immediate release of several immigrants swept up during Operation Metro Surge. Blackwell pressed Lee hard for answers as to why it can take the government just hours to ship out a detained immigrant with no criminal record from the Whipple Federal Building to far-off detention centers, yet it can take them up to 13 days to bring them back when the court orders their immediate release. The Fox 9 investigators have reported extensively on the unprecedented number of habeas filings in federal court as detained immigrants challenge their arrests and detentions. Ms. Lee, can you explain more about this mistake? Why did he stay in custody for 2 more days? Lee here refused to answer our questions after an earlier court hearing, but today she admitted the agency just cannot keep up. As Lee eventually acknowledged, quote, "The system sucks. This job sucks." And in the end, Blackwell did not issue that contempt finding, but he did make clear ICE needs to account for these ignored court orders, especially when talking about the freedom and constitutional rights of many being unlawfully detained right now. And guys, remember, just last week, we heard from the chief judge. He'd accumulated, nearly 100 violations. He alleged court orders, writing in an order, basically, that ICE in the month of January, just here in Minnesota, had likely violated more court orders than most federal agencies had in their entire existence. So the judiciary is watching this closely.
No end in sight, at least not at this point, right? I mean, they just keep coming.
They just keep coming, and I saw the human toll. I was in that courtroom today. That was an attorney who basically broke down in front of the judge. The judge kept pressing her, and I think she just lost it. But her comments, I think, speak to some people that are caught up in this system on all sides of it, really, right now.
Yeah, a lot of strong quotes there.
Yeah,
for sure. Thanks, Paul.
I was wondering the same thing. Like, they spend a lot of money shipping these folks down to Texas. Why can't they just go ahead and release the people that are legally here? But I guess they have a lack of staffing issue, probably a lack of efficiency issue, all these things. I mean, you have people in these horrible conditions based off what I've heard from various videos where they're saying that it's one lady said she was in one of those places and she was in a cell with 2 other men, and she had to cover her face the best she could when they were using the restroom in there. I'm like, I just can't believe that they had these people, in that kind of environment, calling it a detention center. I don't know, y'all. It's crazy, but I don't know what the answer is going to be. I mean, they have such a lot of workload, but at the same time, you're doing somebody's freedom. They need to figure out how to get these people out of there faster, like especially when they're not illegal. You know what I'm saying? So we got Lavonda in the house. Hey, girl. She says, I just found my phone, but all first responders need and should be mental health first aid trained. That would be ideal. That would be ideal. I'm assuming that in that last video that the parents may have told the people on the call that he was schizophrenic. But you know what? When they saw him coming at them with that butcher knife, they let all that go. That training they may have had. But I agree, they should all be trained. I really do, but they're gonna always come back and say, well, this person, was trying to attack a police officer. So hence this young man is facing criminal charges because he had that knife while he was having a mental health episode. So I do understand Mondamni and his way with that. I'm interested to see how they're gonna make this all work. Because yeah. That wasn't no butter knife that he had. That was a full-fledged, I'm gonna call it a butcher knife. Might be called something else. But yeah, but that's a great point. Um, Next up, we have all these layoffs going on with the New York Post. Apparently, Bezos had bought the New York Post back in 2013, I think it was. And so now he's trying to lay off a lot of the staff. So this could be one of those scenarios where, people need to start adjusting to what's going on in the times, right? So a lot of people today aren't reading the newspaper. They may look at it online, get the electronic format or look at stuff on TV, but they're not really looking at the New York Post like that. So they've had an opportunity to scale back on certain things. But anyway, let's get into that and why the people is mad with Jeff Bezos.
Washington Post is laying off a third of its workforce across both the newsroom and its business operations, a massive blow at a storied newspaper that has struggled in recent years to stay profitable and retain subscribers. The cuts reportedly affect more than 300 of the approximately 800 journalists in the newsroom and include eliminating its sports desk and books section entirely. The Post's executive editor said the changes, though painful, were meant to, quote, reinvent the paper for a new era. For more on these cuts and their implications, we're joined now by Marty Barron, who was the editor of the Washington Post from 2012 until 2021. Welcome back to the NewsHour.
Thanks for having me.
You have described this as among the darkest days in the Post's history. What do these layoffs mean for the paper's mission and its ability to continue doing in-depth, substantial reporting?
Well, I think it's important to keep in mind just how widespread these cuts are. Not only the sports desk, the books department, but pretty much the entire arts department, eviscerating the foreign staff, largely eviscerating the local staff as well. So these are huge, huge cuts, and they're going to do enormous damage to the newspaper's ability to cover its community, to cover the country, and to cover the world in all the ways that it should.
The executive editor, Matt Murray, said today that the paper's structure was built for a different era and that refocusing on what he calls these core coverage areas like politics and national security will help the Post better navigate technological change, shifting audience habits, cost pressures. Do you buy that argument?
Well, I think Matt is doing a really good job as editor of the Post. The Post is doing extraordinary journalism every single day, and I commend them for that. I admire what they're doing. That said, they seem to have announced a new strategy just about once a year now, saying that it would better position themselves for the future, and none of those things have worked. I don't think what they're doing now helps position them for the future. It diminishes the brand, it diminishes the coverage, it offers less to their readers. They're going to have fewer subscribers as a result of this, probably not more. So I understand why Matt is saying that. He has to say something positive about what's happening, but I don't think there's very much positive to say.
You served as editor under Jeff Bezos back in 2013 when he purchased the paper and pledged long-term investment and support for the newsroom. What do you make of what appears to be a shift in both his relationship to the paper and his willingness to invest in its future?
Well, he was great at the beginning, and for a long time, as a matter of fact. He set out a vision for the Post to be national and international as opposed to regional, which it was largely before. He invested heavily in the Post. We innovated tremendously over the years. we grew tremendously as well, practically doubling the staff. And we were profitable for about 6.
I mean, this is the thing, Bezos is about making money. And so if they're not making the kind of money he wants to see, I mean, I think I read where he spent $250 million to buy the New York Post. That was less than 1% of his net worth. Like, this is not that serious to him, in my opinion, right? Like, okay, I bought the New York Post, okay, there's something to do. We'll make these changes, But to the people who actually work there and who really believe in what they're doing, like, it's a big deal to them. So I think that's why they're having such a heartache about what's the future is of New York Post and how it's going to affect journalism in general. Let's keep it going.
Years. And so that was a lot of progress. He was proud of it. He spoke proudly of it. So now we're seeing, a diminished outlook. And I think that he became sort of detached in about 2019 when his marriage broke up. When Amazon was struggling later in 2020, when the Amazon was struggling with the pandemic and all the aspects.
So what does him having a divorce and having challenges with Amazon have to do with the decisions he's making when it comes to the New York Post? I'm sure he has a panel of people that contribute to some of these decisions. I mean, what do you all think?
Of that, and then I think he really took a real turn after it looked like Trump was going to be elected president yet again, and that was in 2024. And 11 days before the presidential election in 2024, they killed an editorial that was endorsing Kamala Harris. He said the paper wouldn't endorse ever again for president, and hundreds of thousands of subscribers canceled at that time, aggravating the financial problems that they had. Subsequent to that, he did all sorts of things that made things even worse. Appearing at the inauguration on the stage with Donald Trump, buying the Melania so-called documentary for an exorbitant price, Amazon buying the rights to The Apprentice, and Amazon had bought the rights to the Melania's documentary as well, and then completely changing the opinion pages so that essentially they have no columnists who are really left of center. And they're very deferential to Trump. And I think they lack a moral core. And so all of that has driven subscribers away. And so for every subscriber that they get coming in through the front door because of the high quality news coverage, I think they're losing maybe 2 subscribers out the back door. Of course, I don't know the numbers exactly, but clearly they've been losing a lot of subscribers.
Why does an institution like the Washington Post matter at this moment in particular?
Exactly.
Look, I think it's the reason that every news organization matters. It's an organization. I think the role of a news organization is to give the public the information it needs and deserves to know so that they can govern themselves. The Washington Post has a long history of that, and particularly of holding government to account, keeping a close eye on government. That happened, of course, during Watergate. I think we did that when I was editor on the first round of Trump's time in the White House, his first term. And they continue to do that today. I think they're doing a tremendous job of that. People need to know what's happening in their government. They need to know what's happening in the corridors of power, whether in government or in business or in nonprofits or wherever it might be. And they need to know what's happening around the world. So if you don't have reporters around the world, you're not going to know what's happening. And we need more than one news organization doing that. We need multiple news organizations doing that. So, look, the press is built into our democracy. It is provided for in the First Amendment to the Constitution because the founders understood that you needed an institution that would keep watch on government. And, James Madison, who was the principal author of that amendment, talked about the need for freely examining public characters and measures. We are not stenographers and we should not be propagandists. And that is the role that the Washington Post has historically played, and that's the role that it should continue to play.
Marty Barron, thank you for your time this evening. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. So I guess they're primarily concerned about the future of reporting and having people provide different perspectives and from different parts of the world. I mean, so I get that. Okay, let's keep it rolling. So next up, we have President Trump. He always has a moment for us. Let's get into it.
Criminals.
Paul Reichoff and Gretchen Carlson are both out front. So, Gretchen, okay, actions speak a lot louder than words.
Right.
Right? Especially with him, right? So, he may say something and he may do something else. Nonetheless, for him, those are words that he does not like to utter. They could have used a softer touch. He didn't like what he saw. Are they significant?
Yes. Somebody got to.
So they're referring to Trump making a comment in an interview where he said that they could have used a softer touch, the ICE agents in Minneapolis in particular. So let's keep it going.
Him. Presumably the polls are the first thing that got to him because he's absolutely cratering in the polls on this issue. Independents, 71% say excessive force is how they view ICE right now. That is abominable for any Republican running for the midterms right now. So there's that. But the thing that I worry about is after he seemed to have a little empathy for the situation in Minnesota and 2 U.S. citizens murdered, then last Friday night he was asked about it on the red carpet and he completely flipped again. So I'm worried now that these comments were from the last person who spoke to him before he went out to do this interview.
Yeah,
and
when
now,
Homan went out and said, I'm going to pull back, and he said, no way.
No, right. And so now I'm worried tomorrow that there'll be something different. But this is not necessarily that he's going to change the tactics with ICE. I think that this is him just expressing some empathy because he's hoping that he can get those people back on his side, who, by the way, the majority voted for him for this very issue, but he's mucked it up.
So Paul, Trump saying this, there's that ICE attorney context. This is kind of amazing, right? She's sent to Minnesota to be adjudicating these cases, and the judge is frustrated because they say ICE keeps ignoring court orders. And so she says to the judge, quote, sometimes.
So that's what we just looked at. This ICE attorney we're talking about here, that they're talking about, we just saw that maybe 10 minutes ago over here. Okay, and they're saying that Trump is concerned about what's going to happen with the midterms and that he's trying to change the narrative a little bit when it comes to what's going on in Minnesota. So let's keep it going.
I wish you would just hold me in contempt, Your Honor, so that I can have a full 24 hours of sleep. I work days and nights just because people are still in there. The system sucks. The job sucks. What do you say to that? I mean, one can laugh at that, and one can also say, it's pretty scary all this is falling apart like this.
I bet the job does suck. And I think what's happening is that more people inside of ICE and around the system are expressing their views and have a conscience. I've appealed to the 1/3 of ICE agents who are veterans to say, is this what you stand for? Are these the values? It's really important. Remember, he called them domestic terrorists. Okay, ICE agents murdered them, and then the administration called them domestic terrorists and continue to try to ruin their character, say that somehow they deserved it or they were bad people. Here's the bottom line. Most Americans do not like ICE. They do not like no warrants. They don't like masks. They don't like badges. They don't like someone who had a right to carry a firearm being shot in the streets. He's hitting every base, but he's not changing his strategy. He's still all gas and no brakes and pushing deeper into Portland and Phoenix and Utah. He might be pulling back a bit in Minneapolis, but he's still pushing hard across the rest of the country.
As we say, focus on the actions and not just the words. Gretchen, I want to talk about something else today with both of you. The Washington Post. 1 in 3 employees laid off today. War zones. Okay, they cite losses. Now, Jeff Bezos, of course, has talked about this when he bought the Post, right? He said this wasn't about losing money. He wanted to figure out a business model, right? But that this was about morals and it was about democracy. Here he is, even in 2018.
It's like this is an important institution. It is the newspaper in the capital city of the most important country in the world. The Washington Post has an incredibly important role to play in this democracy. There's just no doubt in my mind about that.
So he says this, Gretchen. He's now worth $250 billion.
So let me pause for a second. So we have user IK5V4VE3F in the house. Welcome to the live stream. And they're saying that ICE doesn't need warrants to arrest illegal immigrants. And you are correct. Definitely not when they're in a public setting. That is true. If they're in a private setting, then they're supposed to get the warrant. And there is some memos out where they're now saying that might not necessarily be the case, but that's still being decided by a body of law. So yes, so we have Lou telling Lavonda what's up, and her telling Lou hello. All right, y'all. So just to kind of recap a little bit, we did look at some of the things that they are talking about here, some of those clips. That's why I wanted to show those first. But yeah, that ICE attorney, like I said, she does look very stressed out. And they just can't, they just can't they can't keep up with everything, right? And so I do think that Trump is trying to figure out how to you know, get people back on his side. I agree with that. But we'll see, how things play out over the next few weeks, right? In regards to what they're doing with all this immigration stuff. So yeah, so the user is saying that I'm correct. That's right. I'm not gonna say anything wrong, not intentionally. Let's keep it going.
Amazon throws $70 million at the Melania production that has $7 million. I mean, the point is they can take losses wherever they want to take losses. He can take losses, but not here.
Well, how things change from 2018. I mean, he now is presumably best friends with Donald Trump and did do this Melania wedding. I'm also going to remind you about the extravagant, ridiculous, over-the-top wedding that he had last year, where you had protesters in Venice who were protesting for the waste of money. So none of this looks good from.
How they gonna protest this man's wedding and what he chose to spend it on and say that it's a waste of money? I didn't know they were protesting his wedding. I mean, that man is one of the richest men alive. He can buy what he wants and still have money left over to spare. But let me just keep it going.
Point of view. And by the way, let me just say to all of these journalists who have lost their jobs, my heart breaks for them tonight
so many
as well.
Incredible people.
And they see Bezos spending money like that, and now they're out of a job. So again, it is not a good PR look, and maybe Bezos has learned this from hanging out with Trump.
Spent last week at Fashion Week.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Washington Post motto was "Democracy dies in the dark." Well, they just darkened 1/3 of the Washington Post. They gutted one of the most esteemed and venerable media agencies in America. And Trump's on plan. Trump is continuing to attack and erode the Fourth Estate. He wants to crush the media. He wants to stop anyone that's in his way.
Okay. I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, yeah, they see Bezos out here living his life at Fashion Week. I mean, that's what these people do. It's a business. I mean, yeah, I just don't know what the people expect. I mean, he decided to get rid of 1/3 of the company and he's gonna continue living his life. Like that's why they tell you do not have loyalty to the job. Have loyalty to yourself and figuring out how to get your money the way you need to get it, because these companies are not that concerned about you like that. While you're working there, it's all about family and we're a team, we're this and the other. But then when it comes down to the dollar in the business, they're gonna really do what's best for their bottom line, for their shareholders, right? So yeah, I wouldn't sit here and dare to, oh, he's out here at Fashion Week. He gonna be at Fashion Week and going to his multi-million-dollar home too at the end of the day. This is what life is. So we have the user back saying they protest because entitled people love to be flabbergasted. Got you. Okay. So we're finna go on to the next Trump video.
Did that come from you?
Yes, it did.
Okay, let's drill down into the news today. That big change on immigration, 700 officers leaving Minneapolis. Did that come from you?
Yes, it did. But it didn't come from me because I just wanted to do it. We are waiting for them to release prisoners, give us the murderers that they're holding, and all of the bad people, drug dealers, all of the bad people. We allowed in our country, I say 25 million people with an open border policy for 4 years under Biden and that group, the Autopen group, I call them. We allowed to come into our country people the likes of which no country would accept, and we're getting them out. Yeah. But we've gotten a lot of them out. So crime now in Minnesota, crime now in Minneapolis is down. Crime in all cities is down. And you know why it's down? It's down because of us. It's down in Chicago by 25%, despite the fact that we are always dealing with these people and they happen to be Democrats
Speaking of
that don't know anything about crime prevention.
Mr. President, speaking of Minneapolis, what did you learn?
I learned that maybe we can use a little bit of a softer touch, but you still have to be tough. These are criminals. We're dealing with really hard criminals. But look, I've called the people. I've called the governor. I've called the mayor, spoke to them, had great conversations with them, and then I see them ranting and raving.
So what I would say is that you should be tough once you validated that the person is a criminal. A lot of the people that they've been, detaining are people that are not criminals, people that, are not here illegally. Some are, but not all, right? And it's like there's people who are here legally who are being, taken down to Texas and having to be in those camps for a couple of weeks and then get to go home. So it's like, how can they figure out how to not have those folks endure any of that? I would not want to be in one of those detainment locations. I just wouldn't. Now we have user back saying, how is the crime in DC? I don't know. Let's see how the crime is in DC. Let's see if I can find some on that. As a matter of fact, when I was out and about, was it yesterday? No, Tuesday, I saw a couple of police types out where I was at. I don't know if they were just hired by the property or what. But let's see how it's crime in DC. Let's see. Crime in Washington, D.C. is currently in a state of significant rapid decline following a peak in 2023, with data from 2024, 2025, and early 2026 showing sharp reductions in violent offenses, including homicides and carjackings. However, the overall level of crime remains a major subject of debate, with 2023 having been the deadliest year in over 2 decades, leading to a lingering widespread perception of high risk among residents, tourists, and federal officials. So, yeah, now I can tell you, I live in Maryland, and I want to say in Laurel, Maryland, maybe last month, December, January, there was one weekend where people just broke all these people glasses in their car. They broke the windows in the car, trying to steal stuff like the whole street. So that was crazy. So it's people do what they do. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why they picked Laurel and that street, but they did. And those people all had to go their insurance essentially to figure out how they'll get this stuff fixed. Because who wants to pay for a broken window? But let's keep this going.
There, literally as though a call wasn't made.
We thank you.
Okay.
Trump's tariffs continue to increase inflation. The recent producer price index came in hot, hot, hot. Economists predicted a 0.2% rise. It was 0.5%. And what that means is tariffs are now causing businesses to pass on these increased costs to consumers. And what is Trump focused on? Closing the Kennedy Center. Apparently, he couldn't even get Kid Rock to perform there. And now we have this hallowed, amazing institution of the United States closed because Donald Trump royally screwed up when he vandalized it by putting his name.
I'll tell y'all what, I got to go to the Kennedy Center. I went back in December, I think it was. It is a beautiful place, honey. I did not know that it was essentially closed. What we got here? So we have users saying if you are an illegal, legally or illegally, if you are an alien, legally or illegally, you have to have proof that you have status at all times. Perhaps they were not carrying their immigration paperwork. Some of them were carrying it. But the issue with those people, so I agree, there are probably people who don't carry it. Not talking about them. But what I will say is that I saw on yesterday, we were looking at this video, and this man was talking about how you know, he was questioning that the agent had an accent and he had one. It's like, for me, if you're being asked to produce paperwork or whatever, I would just give the paperwork. I wouldn't give all the extra commentary because you know what? I don't want to have to go and deal with being placed in a detention center. I'm not trying to make no example. I'm just trying to go about my business, right? And we can work out this other stuff legally later. Maybe I file a complaint, whatever have you. But yeah, I think some people are not walking around with paperwork. I think some folks have the paperwork like this guy did, but instead of him just going ahead showing the paperwork, he wanted to have a little match up with the agent about accents. So yeah, and then some people it's like, okay, they said they told you that they had the paperwork or whatever, and they still got shipped off. Like I just don't know. So I don't know. Like I think some people were like they were born here or whatever. And if you're born here, you may not necessarily carry paperwork, right? Because you've always been here. So I think you have some of those people too that get caught up in it because they don't appear to look like a traditional American, if you will, right? So they end up yes, they end up, being caught up in it. But this one gentleman, he was from Mexico. I did a video with him yesterday, on him yesterday, and he was saying he's gotten stopped twice. And they asked him for the paperwork, he provided to them, and he said they look at it, they let him go. So I think a lot of times it's all about the communication. You know what I'm saying? How they choose to interact with these agents because if you're always looking for, if you're not I would just say be respectful, give them what they want, and then go on about your business. That's what I would say too. So we have users saying, laugh aloud, I saw that the Border Patrol agents were wrong in the instance about the accents. Yeah. Yeah. So like you said, that's the point I made. You just said if you are born here, that you don't need to show paper. Exactly. That's the problem. So many people are born here and they don't look like traditional Americans. So when these people are asking them about paperwork, they don't have any because they don't need to have any. And they're getting caught up and going to these detention centers. That's my point exactly. So yeah, we're on the same page here. Oh yeah. So we're gonna go ahead on and let this continue, but feel free to continue commenting in the chat, and I'll make sure I'll respond to them.
I agree with Chairman Aguilar with everything he said about Trump's ICE and Border Patrol. Trump's ICE and Border Patrol interior operations are out of control. Not only did they kill 2 civilians last month, but you see continuing videos and stories of their abuses. We learned recently that ICE shackled a woman for 24 hours in a bathroom with 3 other men. The faucet didn't work, and when the men would go to a toilet, the woman would hide her face. We know that ICE also detained a 5-year-old citizen, Liam, who then got sick because of the horrible conditions at the detention facility, and a federal judge ordered the release because ICE is just flat out violating the law. It turns out some of the folks that ICE is taking came in here legally through legal processes last year. And if the Trump administration doesn't like that, they've got to change the law. They can't just take people who came in here legally and then try to deport them. And that's why you have judges doing what they just did in this case and release 5-year-old Liam. I also want to echo what Chairman Aguilar said about Kristi Noem. Under her leadership, the Department of Homeland Security has killed a number of Americans. She needs to resign or she needs to be fired, and if not, impeachment proceedings need to proceed. And with that, I yield back.
Questions? Max?
As you mentioned, a lot of Democrats have issues with the day.
Okay. So we have users saying Liam was detained because of the family who was also illegal would not take him. Okay. So you're saying that his mom is illegal too? Liam's mom? I'm not leaving. I'm watching. Oh, well, thank you. Let me audit you. Well, I figured, we talk about news stuff, you were gonna go, but I appreciate it. I appreciate the support nonetheless. But next Thursday, we're not gonna have the news stuff. That'll be next Monday and Wednesday, news stuff, and then we'll have my ratchet stuff next Thursday. Yes. So let me see real fast about Liam's. Let's see. Liam. Okay. Um illegal immigrants. Let's see. I want to see if his parents are legal immigrants. I don't think the dad was, because he wouldn't have been released if he was, right? Let's see. The legal status of 5-year-old Ramos. Okay. The legal status of 5-year-old Liam Conajo Ramos' parents is currently a subject of dispute between their legal representation and the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Okay. So they're saying that Liam and his parents entered the U.S. legally in December 2024 by presenting themselves at a port of entry in Texas to apply for asylum. They said that DHS and Immigration and Customs, Liam's father, Adrian Conajo, arrives as an illegal alien with a removal order. DHS officials have stated that they have no record of the family using the CBP One app, which is often used for scheduled asylum appointments. So they were released, citing a lack of probable cause for their detention. The judge's order was narrow and did not definitively resolve the dispute over their long-term immigration status. Okay. So I guess they're trying to figure out if Liam's parents are illegal or not illegal immigrants here. So, okay. So we got Lemmy. All that you're saying, I don't know well enough yet. Just here to watch and figure it out. Okay. I appreciate that. We got user saying, so instead of leaving the 5-year-old alone, they kept him with his father. Okay. Now the mother did say, so they did make the comment that they tried to contact the mother, but she wouldn't open the door, and she said that was not accurate. So I'm not really sure how that part played out. If they tried to get in contact with her or not, because I would not have wanted my 5-year-old to have experienced any of that. Okay, so we're gonna let this part continue on.
DHS and Kristi Noem are handling situations in the U.S. As a result, how will you vote on the funding package later today, which does provide temporary funding for DHS?
I think we'll have members on. Some members will vote yes, and some members will vote no. This has been a topic of discussion that we've had, that you guys have reported on over the weekend. We had emergency caucus meetings where we were hearing from members. We understand the perspectives that our members bring to the table. Some of the appropriators feel like they need to support this deal. Other members feel deeply concerned that even 2 weeks of ICE continued funding is, in a sense, blessing what they have done and what they will continue to do, terrorizing our communities. But our caucus is united, and look, I know you folks are going to talk about this vote. We're opposing the rule because Speaker Johnson apparently told his crew that they could pass this on suspension over the weekend, as was reported. That's false. There was no discussion that would lead any rational person to believe that 100 Democrats could vote for this. If they have a problem passing these bills, they need to talk to Hakeem Jeffries. But the first step was in admitting that this can't pass on suspension. And so now they have to pass a rule. If they pass a rule, which we'll see in the next few hours, then we'll have a quick debate and we'll see where members land on this. This has been the unifying force of members, though, has been these themes. Right, has been Kristi Noem is the head of this agency that is seemingly lawless and doesn't care about the First, Second, Fourth, or 10th Amendment, and she's got to go. We want to protect our communities. We've said that from the very first press conference that the vice chair and I did last year after the president, pardoned violent criminals. And that continues to be a focal point, is what is best to protect our communities while respecting the rule of law. And what we know is that Kristi Noem doesn't believe in this. They're willing to let Stephen Miller make policy over there. And I think what members were also showed is 59% of Fox, this is a Fox poll, 59% said ICE was too aggressive. So Speaker Johnson is on the wrong side of this. He's already dismissing some of the reasonable reforms that we're offering. The proof continues to be the American people. Speaking in a poll, at Fox, or speaking at the ballot in Texas, the American people are fed up of this. They are fed up of lawless ICE. They are fed up of runaway budgets with no accountability, and they are fed up of the rhetoric that Republicans are trying to offer to justify this lawlessness. And it's going to be on us. It's going to be on House Democrats to push back. And we will push back now. We will push back in February, and we will push back all the way through November until we get an opportunity to change the temperature in this place.
A few weeks ago, I went to Minneapolis, St. Paul, and met with nonprofit groups and local law enforcement. We did a Democratic field hearing, and their stories of abuse are horrific. You have Trump's ICE completely being out of control. We also know that the public pressure is working. The Trump administration is starting to backtrack. They removed Border Patrol Commander-at-Large Greg Bovino from Minnesota. We also know that he has now engaged in anti-Semitic comments. He needs to resign. We also know that Kristi Noem yesterday issued a directive saying all field agents in Minneapolis must wear body cameras. That is a start, but every one of their agents across America needs to wear body cameras like real police officers do. And I encourage American people to continue this public pressure and to exercise their First Amendment rights.
Michael?
Just to drill down before I ask my question, you're going to wait to see if the Republicans can pass a rule before you.
What's going on with that? Let me say this. So one thing I do agree with is that they should wear body cam. I know someone was saying that they may not cut it on, but they need to be made to cut it on. But I think that having the body cam will help quell a lot of the issues that happen when things happen to folks. Like, you can have that body cam to kind of see a more direct line of sight of what's happening. I think that's a good move, but they got to also make sure people, cut that stuff on. So I agree with that. Now, in this chat here, we got Let Me Audit You saying, oh, Democrats. And just so you know that YouTube is auditing you. Let me audit you. They're saying when you put down have fun, down under, okay, with the devil where he reside, it doesn't show that on YouTube at all. Just so you know, you're being kind of monitored by them with the comments. Let's see. Okay, yeah. Let me let this finish.
Or I'm going to wait until we pass a rule before I tell people what I'm going to vote. But either way, it serves the same purpose. But look, we've over the last couple of days, the vice chair and I have tried to create an environment with the leadership team where we hear directly from members who are struggling, who are frustrated by what they see. And the week back home, where we talked to folks in our communities about the local lawlessness of ICE. Really put a finer point on that. We weren't, in D.C. comparing notes. We were back home talking to our communities, and we're the ones that have to look folks in the eye who have experienced some of these tragedies and horrific behavior. The vice chair in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and many other folks visiting ICE detention facilities or trying to visit ICE detention facilities or talking to community leaders and advocates. But time and time again, what we hear from our colleagues is we have to make changes. We have to reform DHS. They were given unlimited amounts of money by House Republicans, and we need to have meaningful reforms because they are unchecked. They have been proven time and time again unworthy of our trust and unworthy of the benefit of the doubt. All of us are here on the Democratic side. I know the vice chair and I feel this way. We want government to work. We know it can be an instrument of good. We know it can help people in their daily lives. And what these folks are doing sets all of us back because they are now going to be afraid. And I talked to our local law enforcement leaders about this in San Bernardino County last week. Local law enforcement is concerned that people aren't going to report crime or they aren't going to say that they are a witness of a crime because they're afraid that everybody is working with ICE. And that hurts us. If people don't feel like they can answer a police officer's question on what they saw for fear of their status, that sets us all back. And by the way, every one of these law enforcement agencies, I met with locally, they have an identifier on them. They have their name on a polo. They have their name on their uniform. It says which agency employs them. They have a clear identifier as to who they are and where they work. Shame on us if we can't create an environment that mirrors exactly what our local governments have been doing and have been doing well and have been doing with the trust and support of our community members.
But you know what? He's right. People are not even wanting to leave their home. They're afraid they might get, seen by ICE. They're not trying to go to work. The one lady we saw yesterday, she lost her job because she's been, detained a couple times. People are not going to want to, get medical care. So it's going to be a lot of backlash with people not wanting to, get resources that they need for subsistence, because they're afraid that if they're out and about, like the gentleman that went to go get some food to bring home and he got caught up in an ICE raid and his daughter was at home by herself at 6 years old. It was a whole lot, right? So it's a lot of that going on with all this stuff happening out here in the streets with the ICE raids and stuff like that. So yeah, you're going to have less people willing to talk to the police. They're going to be very quiet because they don't want to, bring attention to themselves. They want to remain where they are. But, I think the main thing is them figuring out how to go ahead and get that legal status. That's the main thing. But when we talked about people who've been here for like 20 years, they had opportunity to get the status, but chose not to. The lady that we saw that was a nurse that ended up being like video being dragged because she came for asylum, but they were going to send her back to where she was from and they ended up taking her somewhere else. It was a whole lot going on. Just a lot going on. But yes, we're gonna move on now to some let's see. I want to say we talked yesterday about Epstein and Bill Gates and all that. And there was an email that Gates said that Epstein was sending to himself. Okay. So we have a little bit of audio that kind of delves into that a little bit. So let's get into it.
Was far from the only person that was mentioned in the Epstein files. The 3 million documents dropped today. We also have Bill Gates. There's a draft email in the documents that Epstein was apparently writing to himself back in July of 2013. And in it, he addressed Bill Gates, accusing him of recently disregarding their friendship or whatever twisted relationship they had. He also mentioned Gates allegedly asking him to delete some past communications. And when it's past communications with Jeffrey Epstein, the reason why he'd want them to be deleted is easy to speculate about. Here is from the draft email, this section. To add insult to the injury, you, them, implore me to please delete the emails regarding your STD, your request that I provide you antibiotics that you can surreptitiously give to Melinda, and the description of your penis. And so sometimes these emails are hard to understand or to follow from Jeffrey Epstein because he wrote like an absolute illiterate madman. I don't know entirely why one of the richest men in the world would need antibiotics to be provided.
So what he just said is that in this alleged email, Epstein was saying that Epstein was saying that Bill Gates needed to get some antibiotics because he caught some kind of STD or STI and needed to give that to his wife as well without her knowing. That's what they're talking about here. Just insane.
To be provided by Jeffrey Epstein.
I do.
Okay, well, they're referencing something there. There was also a draft email that Epstein appeared to be writing on behalf of Gates' longtime science advisor, Boris Nikolic, about his intent to leave the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. This is from July of 2013. Epstein wrote in his voice, by the way, for this. During the past few weeks, I have been caught up in a severe marital dispute between Melinda and Bill. In my role as his right hand, I have been asked on multiple occasions and in hindsight wrongly acquiesced into participating in things that have ranged from the morally inappropriate to the ethically unsound, and have been repeatedly asked to do other things that get near and potentially over the line into the illegal. From helping Bill to get drugs in order to deal with consequences of sex with Russian girls, to facilitating his illicit trysts with married women, to being asked to provide Adderall for bridge tournaments, I feel I owe it to my friends and future colleagues to admit a moral failure, to ask forgiveness, and to move on with my life. A spokesperson for Gates says these claims are absurd, they're all false, they're not based on anything. But I have a feeling I know where your mind goes when you see him drafting an email which seems like blackmail material against Bill Gates.
Exactly. This is not complicated at all. These are all drafted emails not sent. These are obviously threats. If you don't do what we want, I could send this email to you and then you can't unsend it and it'll be on the record and you'll get caught on STDs, Russian girls, whatever he's threatening. Is it true? We don't know. But usually they threaten things that they think that the other person will be afraid of. Right? So now that doesn't mean you should assume that Bill Gates did these things. That's not the important part of this story. And you could judge Bill Gates on your own time. I don't care, right? So what I care about is, so it was a blackmail operation. Because look, the one he writes for Bill Gates is super damning and like, I could send it. The one he writes for his right-hand man, obviously they've got something on the right-hand man. And what they're saying is, if we want you to, you're gonna throw Bill Gates under the bus with this email. And if you don't, there will be consequences. So who is we? That's the question. And so, and based on Dropsite News's articles and emails that they've got from Epstein and Ehud Barak and others, the we is super duper clear. It's Israel. All Epstein talks about is Israel and helping Israel in every way. He has spies, Israeli spies at his place. He has the Israeli prime minister. He tries to get cyber weapons for Israel. He tries to get America to attack Syria and Iran for Israel. Israel. He is clearly Mossad. In fact, in one of the emails, he jokes about, now I'm not Mossad. Make sure you tell him I'm not Mossad, and then a wink emoji.
Well, he said he's not.
Okay.
I don't understand.
Come on.
Okay, so why would this man sit here and create emails just to keep them in draft and not send them? I think that's kind of suspect. I'll say that. Now, in the chat here, we have users saying both shootings were sad, but they should not have got involved in official police business. Yeah, they were definitely sad. And I don't think those are going to be the last of them, unfortunately, because I think it's good that he's drawing down the ICE agents in Minneapolis, but there's other areas, the other places around the U.S. where they have all this stuff going on. Minneapolis is like the first out the chute to have a lot of tragedy, but I agree. I mean, I think we got to figure out other ways to get our voice heard to help these immigrants. I would not put myself in harm's way, because at this stage for me, it's clear that these ICE agents, self-preservation. They're gonna make sure they're good, and they're gonna ask questions later and take care of business up front. So that's all I got. Like Ice-T had made a comment when he was being interviewed and coming out his car or something. He said that, look, you need to protest peacefully because ICE, they taking people out, and he said it more tactfully, but yeah, that was the point. And so user says, who do you know follows and harass police officers in your city? I don't know anybody that do that. I don't. But as a matter of fact, we try to get away from the police. We ain't trying to have the attention of the police where I'm from. So I'm with you on that. Let's keep it going.
So what's amazing is the press will be like, Donald Trump, Bill Gates, Elon Musk. And you're like, bro, this is all about Israel. Don't say it. Why? Why can't I say it? Okay, so here, it gets way worse. So here is a portion of that is in the files, and this is amazing. It's in an FBI report. First, let's start with Dershowitz, then we'll go to Trump and Kushner. So they write in the report, CHS believed Dershowitz was co-opted by the Mossad and subscribed to their mission. Now, look, I'm not saying it. It's in the FBI report. I'm just reporting what's in the Epstein files, okay? And then they go to Trump. CHS advised that this was already, this was a real collusion story. Trump has been compromised by Israel, and Kushner is the real brains behind his organization and his presidency. So, did you see that headline yet? Maybe they'll come up later. Maybe it'll come up during the weekend. But if I know establishment media, they'll burr the hell out of it and go, "This is just speculation." Hey, but you printed Trump being with a 13-year-old. That was speculation. You didn't mind that. You printed about Bill Gates' potential STDs. You didn't mind that. Elon Musk begging to go to Epstein Island over and over. But when it comes to Israel, yeah, okay. Does that mean that Trump is definitely compromised by Israel? No, but those are interesting allegations. If we're talking about the other allegations, we should be talking about the allegations about why did this entire thing happen in the first place?
Yeah.
This was not an accident. This was not like, oh, golly gee, here's the wild guy. Oh, Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, yeah, he's the pedo that all the powerful people randomly know about and like and constantly go to. And he writes blackmail emails to them. And he brags about how he's constantly helping the Israelis with their spies and their ex-presidents. And we can't put 2 and 2 together? No, I put it together, it's 4. So mainstream media can tell you it's 5 or 0, but they're giant liars. Epstein was clearly part of Israel's operations here, and we're trying to blackmail the most powerful people in the country. So wake up, America. It's super obvious, and Israel is not an ally. They've been using and abusing us for all of these years.
Yeah, weird, like I buy what you say, but weirdly I come out of this feeling a little bit bad for them because they invest all of this time and effort into trying to blackmail Donald Trump, but they don't get that he's such a morally upright man that he wouldn't do anything that he could be blackmailed for. He partied for decades with Epstein and he probably didn't do anything.
Oh, no.
Sinful, cheating.
He's just
violent.
too moral.
Definitely, but it's weird. I'm being sarcastic. There's like 50 million people who believe that. Absolutely insane.
Every time you ring the bell.
Lord, let's go to the next.
It's, they talk about incompetence. I think it's not incompetence. I think it's just pure fraud. These are dishonest people. They're bad people. I think they hate our country, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. But don't let this hide the fact that you have tremendous fraud. And if we find the fraud in this country, you'll have a balanced budget without even cutting anything. You'll literally have a balanced budget. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, from Colombia, are you planning to work with President Petro to fight guerrilla groups and terrorist organizations in Venezuela?
Well, they want me to do that, and we will. We're getting along very well in Venezuela with the leadership. Very, very well. We took in 50 million barrels of oil. It's right now heading to Houston. And we're getting along very well with them, but we're going to work with them, yes.
A few months ago, you had in your office here Peter Mandelson, the British ambassador. You were shaking hands with him over a trade deal. He's today been forced to resign from the House of Lords, the upper house of the British Parliament, over his links to Jeffrey Epstein. Just wondered if you had any reaction to that, since obviously he was.
I didn't know about it, but I really don't know too much about it. I know who he is. It's too bad. Speaking of Epstein, I will say this: a reporter named Wolf and Epstein conspired. This just came out yesterday in the millions of pages of documents. How crazy this is! Conspired against me in order to fight like hell to make sure I lose the election. That's the only thing that was mentioned about me.
Baby, one thing Trump gonna do is let you know that people are conspiring against him to lose that election, okay? Yes. Okay, just to get caught up here, we do have user IK5BH4BE3F. He was saying that who follows and harass police officers in your city, where they do that at. And so I said, I guess they do it in these sanctuary cities, right? He was like, yeah, no doubt. because that's the only place I've seen this say. I mean, with the Wilsons and everything, my goodness. Then we got Lou here saying hello. For those who are here, please support the channel by liking and subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you for being here. Let's keep this going.
Now, about Democrats, some really bad stuff, but about me, that Wolf, whoever Wolf is, he wrote a book, a couple of books, and Epstein conspired against me. Did you know that, Mr. Senator?
I did know that.
They conspired against me, so I lose the election, or worse. So that takes care of Epstein as far as Trump is concerned, but you got a lot of Democrats out there that are very much involved with Epstein. But I'll be honest with you, you got to get back to running the country too. Millions and millions every week. You know, when Epstein was alive, nobody cared about him. When he's dead, they care about him. But it's really a Democrat problem. It's not a Republican, it's a Democrat problem. The only problem Republicans have is that we have to get back to, number one, running our country, and then number two, very importantly, letting the public know what a great job we're doing. We have the greatest...
Let me tell you something. One thing Trump gonna do is let you know his progress report. I told you that yesterday. Every time he speak, he gonna let you know what he had to work with and what he has done. Okay, may we all operate like that in our place of employment. Yes, so let's keep that going. And also, he brought all this back to him and how they tried to sabotage his last his second election, his second run for president. Like, he ain't letting that go. Okay.
In the history of the world, we have $18 trillion being spent. The record was $3 trillion many years ago, not by us, by another country. I won't say the country. Yeah, please.
Did you read those new files, Mr. President? Have you been briefed on Savannah Guthrie's mom missing in Arizona?
I think it's terrible.
Would you commit to more federal agents like helping out on the search?
Sure, I would. I'm going to call her later on. I think it's a terrible thing. I always got along very good with Savannah. Very unusual situation, but we're going to find out. Yeah, what do you want?
On the Epstein files, you talked about Democrats who were in there. Elon Musk was also in there, and so was your Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick and correspondence that he had with him. Did you read those new files that were published by the Department of Justice?
I have a lot of things I'm doing, a lot of things I'm doing. I don't know. You mentioned two names. I'm sure they're fine. I'm sure they're fine. Otherwise, it would have been major headlines.
A lot of women who are survivors of Epstein's are unhappy with those redactions.
Look, Trump said he busy. He said he got to run a country. He got things to do. And he said, yeah, them two names you named, yeah, I'm sure they fine. Y'all, he's something else. I tell you that. We got Ben, Lord, we got Ben. I'm gonna call you Ben. We got Ben here. So about thank you for supporting our glorious King Trump. Let me tell you something. Trump gonna tell you what he think, and he has a very even killed tone. Like he said, well, I have things to do, Yeah, yeah. He said he that dude, y'all. Let's keep it going.
It came out. Some of them entire witness interviews are totally blacked out. Do you think that they should be more transparent?
The fact that they thought they released too much. I heard that, and you tell me something else. No, I think it's really time for the country to get onto something else. Really, now that nothing came out about me, other than it was a conspiracy against me, literally, by Epstein and other people. But I think it's time now for the country to maybe get onto something else.
What would you say to people who feel like they haven't gotten justice, Mr. President?
Something that people care about. Yeah, what did you say? Go ahead.
What would you say to the survivors who feel like they have gotten
You are the worst reporter. No wonder CNN has no ratings because of people like you. She's a young woman. I don't think I've ever seen you smile. I've known you for 10 years. I don't think I've ever seen a smile in your face. You know why? You know why you're not smiling? Because you're not telling the truth, and you're a very dishonest organization, and they should be ashamed of you. Okay, go ahead.
You mentioned health care, and the bill that was just passed does not include your health care.
Trump just told that lady that I have never seen you smile in 10 years, and then he just said we just need to get on from this because. There's something that came out about me, and other than we seen, they were trying to conspire against me after my presidential election. Like, he only concerned about him and what was being said in these files. Now, at least he came out. He just came on out with it. He just did. Let's keep this thing going.
Account. So this is a question for you and maybe for Mr. Speaker as well.
I'm so proud of the healthcare savings accounts because it's going to happen. And hopefully, instead of insurance, and I hope this happens, and I hope you guys can do it, let the insurance companies not do quite as well. You know, they're going up 15, 16, 17, 100%. Think of it. The money should be paid directly to the people. You know.
All right, y'all. For the desk of President Trump, honey, he said, just get over it. Let's get on with it. Let's move on to some things that people care about, like health care. Okay, y'all. So speaking of what we care about, he did mention about this, about Savannah Guthrie's mom that got kidnapped, 84-year-old lady. And my goodness, it seems surreal. I just didn't think that people were doing kidnappings in 2026. I'm just saying. So let's kind of get into that a little bit.
New this morning, the family of Nancy Guthrie is pleading for her return in an emotional social media video. Action News Jax told you when Nancy Guthrie was first reported missing over the weekend. She's the mom of Today's Show host Savannah Guthrie. Investigators believe that she was taken against her will from her home in Arizona. Local news there have reported receiving ransom notes. And last night, Savannah and her siblings, you can see in this video, released this video pleading for their mom's safe return.
Mama, if you're listening, we need you to come home. We are ready to talk. However, we live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated. We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her.
President Donald Trump also said that he spoke to Savannah on the phone yesterday. He released this statement on Truth Social, saying in part he's directing all federal law enforcement to be at complete disposal to help find Nancy. More FBI personnel are also expected to be sent to Arizona to help with that search.
My, that is just so sad. 84-year-old woman. I cannot imagine what my temperament and mental state would be if that happened to, my parents. I do hope that they find her and they find her to be, well, alive, healthy as can be. But definitely going to keep my eye out on this one. Now, they did have a little bit of an update, so we're going to go ahead and get into that.
Some DNA. We rushed what we thought was the best target for DNA. We did the blood on the porch. That was one we did. It came back to Nancy. That's what we know.
Chilling new findings on day 5 of the hunt for Savannah Guthrie's 84-year-old mother in Tucson, Arizona. Investigators now confirming these droplets found on her porch were in fact blood, and that blood belongs to Nancy, who police believe was abducted in the middle of the night on Sunday. Also new, the perpetrator or perpetrators may have been caught on surveillance.
The doorbell camera disconnects. At 2:12 a.m., software detects a person on a camera. We know that the tech company that we sent that camera off to, yes, they've said they've run out of ways to recover any video, but we're not giving up on that.
As a family, we are doing everything that we can. We are ready to talk. We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen. Please reach out to us.
There is no proof of life.
Savannah and her siblings still waiting for contact hours after sharing this emotional response to the suspected kidnapper's ransom note. The FBI, who's on the ground assisting in the case, revealing new details about the demands and why they think the note is credible.
One talked about an Apple Watch and one talked about a floodlight. The ransom note that was distributed to the media did make a demand for 5 p.m. today. And if a transfer wasn't made, then I think a second demand was for next Monday. We're not going to go beyond that. I think it's pretty clear The family wants to be contacted. They know time is of the essence.
Mommy, if you are hearing this, you are a strong woman.
This is an 84-year-old grandma that needs vital medication for her well-being.
Her health, her heart is fragile. She lives in constant pain. She is without any medicine. She needs it to survive. She needs it not to suffer. Everyone is looking for you, Mommy, everywhere. We will not rest. Your children will not rest until we are together again.
Like I said, that is so sad. Yeah, that's sad. I'm hoping that I think they were saying how they had taken the footage that they could find to, I guess, to a company to see what they can pull off it, and they didn't get much, but they were going to still keep trying and see what they can get off that video footage. Just crazy. Now I do see where you just said on here, wow, a ransom note. Who still does that? That's what I'm saying. Like, it's 2026. Who brought here kidnapping people with ransom notes? Yeah, but I don't know. They think it might be credible. They found the blood, on the doorstep or whatever. So we got Lou saying, like, share, comment, and subscribe. Yes, thank you for the reminder. I appreciate that. Then we have Lou saying the kidnapper wants an Apple Watch. That's what I heard. Yeah. And the user is saying, sounds like a teenager. Could be. Could be. And then I never heard of a ransom note demand being, okay, well, we want this by 5 o'clock today. If not, we'll give you to Monday to do it. Like, I've never seen that type of approach. Just haven't. So anyway, next up, I had not heard about this situation with Mr. Keith Porter Jr. Apparently he was unalived by an ICE agent that was off duty. So let's kind of get into that because they want to make sure that people are aware of his situation. Let's keep it going.
It's our honor to introduce Black America's Attorney General, Ben Crump. But we come together to raise awareness of the killing of Keith Porter Jr. because too many people in America don't know his name. They know Renee Good name, they know Alex Coretta name, but they don't know Keith Porter Jr.'s name. So we're going to say his name.
Just to be fair, like, people know Renee Good's name, they know Alex Pretty's name, not because of where they lived and not because of their race, right? But we know their names because they were, unalived by ICE agents on duty that was in the middle of an investigation when it comes to illegals. You know what I'm saying? That's how we know about that because their activity when it came to these operations that they're doing with these illegal immigrants. Yeah, I just wanted to make that point because when Keith Porter passed away, it wasn't in relation to anything being done with on duty ICE agents, if that makes sense. But we'll let that keep going. Now, I did see where a user is saying it would be devastating for the left if the kidnapper was illegal. That's a good point. That's a good point.
Porter. Keith Porter. Keith Porter. During the time of this confrontation was the killer of what I am intentionally doing, Attorney Tucson, is calling on California Attorney General Rob Bonta to make sure that the Attorney General's office will initiate an independent investigation because the family has not been confident that LAPD will bear close relationships with the ICE officials, that is going to be a fair and transparent investigation. Immune from this struggle. But we at Black Lives Matter and Naja and all of them trying to whitewash an investigation into the death of Keith Porter is a non-starter. We're not going to allow that to happen. And so, Attorney General Bonta, with the powers vested in you, the family implores you. They plead with you. They beg you to have an independent investigation for this broken-hearted mother and for his children, because it's a different year, but it's the same struggle. Kill us and have us laying dead on the ground and say,
it has been over a month since Keith Porter Jr.'s death, and we still have not gotten meaningful answers. It has been over a month, and we know who the suspect is, yet the suspect has not been arrested.
my Lord.
It has been over a month, and we know his name, yet it took the community and LA Times to release his name when LAPD refused to. It has been over a month, and we have canvassed the community, knocked on doors, the family and myself, only to find that there is audio of the incident. That audio has been turned over. According to the percipient witnesses, on that audio, 3 shots were heard. According to the autopsy, Keith Porter Jr. was shot 3 times. So forgive us if we have skepticism for any claims of self-defense.
Amen.
Whether he was on duty or off duty, a man has died pointless. Throughout Los Angeles, now Minnesota, ICE is acting with impunity and a license to kill. We are demanding appropriate training. We are demanding a committee oversight be set up to remove the bad officers off the street. And we are demanding Attorney Rob Bonta immediately come in and conduct a full and thorough investigation. Thank you. Who are standing with us today in solidarity. If any of you would like to have some...
No.
So we haven't encountered one witness who identified and said, I actually saw him discharge the firearm celebrating. So now we're left with a number of assumptions. It was multiple people out there shooting, right? But yet the officer chose Keith to die on the footsteps of his door. And that's what we're angry about.
I'm gonna ask this question.
By 3 shots.
And that's why we want transparency. You want...
I miss my child, and no one is above the law.
No one.
These agents that are killing unjustly, and silence doesn't bring any answers. I can't bring my son back, but I want justice for him. I want justice for my child.
Wrong, then just as if we did something wrong, or if Keith Porter did something wrong, Michael Brown and Ferguson. Transparency. Let us see what happened. He was not engaged based on any evidence we know. And he talked to us.
Okay, y'all. So, yeah, we heard a little bit about the scenario where they were saying that people were shooting the weapons in the air and all of that. So, yeah, I don't know. Let's see what we got here in the comments. So we got user here saying word on the street was Mr. Porter was firing an AR-15 into the air in a residential neighborhood. When the ICE agent told him to drop the weapon, he pointed at the agent. The agent then shot him. Okay. And then user also says that firing a weapon in the air is seriously irresponsible. There are YouTube videos of roofers pulling bullets lodged in roofs. That could have been someone's skull. Now you're right about that. When I heard that they were out shooting in the air, I'm like, who do that? Like, where? I guess they do that in LA. But I've never known that to be a thing. But let's hear this last thing we got right here on the topic.
Developing tonight, we're hearing from the family of a man who authorities say was firing gunshots in celebration of the new year when he was shot and killed by an off-duty ICE agent. Fox 11's Rachel Aragon joining us live from Universal City, where the family's attorney is calling for an investigation. Rachel?
Yeah, a thorough investigation, according to the attorney and the family. Of course, that means to them, police interviewing everyone in the area that night on New Year's Eve to see if, in fact, Keith Porter shot towards that off-duty officer. But according to the family attorney I talked to earlier today, he says as of now, he sees no evidence that Porter himself was a threat that night.
It's hard. Oh my God, he just loves so deeply.
Just days into the new year, the mother of 43-year-old Keith Porter is still filled with grief and disbelief. According to law enforcement, her son Keith fired celebratory gunshots into the air with an AR-15 style rifle outside his apartment complex on New Year's Eve.
Armed with an AR-15 rifle, possibly suffering from a gunshot wound.
An LAPD report states the off-duty federal officer confronted Porter, identified himself as law enforcement, and claims Porter fired toward him, prompted the officer to return fire.
What should have been a simple arrest and possible a citation has turned into a death sentence.
The family's attorney says this all could have been avoided.
But instead of staying in his apartment for a trained law enforcement officer from LAPD to respond, he made the premeditated and calculated decision to grab a firearm.
Fox 11 reached out to the Department of Homeland Security. In a statement, the department said the off-duty ICE officer bravely responded to an active shooter situation at his apartment complex. In order to protect his life and that of others, he was forced to defensively use his weapon. DHS goes on to say their officer immediately called police.
According to his version, Keith shot 3 shots towards him. We have questions on if there was any shell casing recovered from Keith's weapon that would indicate he in fact fired the weapon 3 times.
Keith's family and their attorneys say they have yet to find a witness to corroborate that the father of 2 fired towards the off-duty officer. Now, DHS tells me they're referring any further questions to LAPD, which is currently investigating. We reached out to LAPD earlier today to see if they have yet to identify that off-duty ICE agent. They responded saying as of right now, they have nothing further to share on this case. Greenland Tonight, I'm Rachel Aragon. I'll send it back to you.
Oh my goodness. So I guess we'll see what ends up happening with that case. I think that they're trying to use the momentum from the Renee Good and Alex Pretty situation to kind of help propel their efforts regarding Porter. So yeah, I guess we'll see what comes of it. Now, we do see where users say that the ICE agent may not have been from that area. New agents are usually sent to areas far from their home when hired on. Makes sense. But yes, y'all, that is what I have for my topics for today. I have been going live. I have gone live every day since last Saturday. So I'm going to take me a day off tomorrow from going live. So what we got here? We have Dirty Money saying, what we got here? Another professional victim. Dirty Money. This person passed away. What happened was they were shooting in the air. Then they're saying that this man was shooting towards the ICE agent and the ICE agent popped him. He didn't survive. And so now they're wanting to, in my opinion, tie into what's going on with Renee Good and Alex Pretty. That's what I'm thinking. But it sounded like to me, it wasn't, at least with those two, they were related to like immigration stuff, protesting type things, on duty agents. This gentleman was at home when all this happened. They are celebrating the new year. So it's kind of a difference, right? So yeah, but I think they're trying to, gain some efficiency with that. So we got users saying law enforcement has a duty to respond, not retreat. I like how you worded that. Yep. Like he said, the man shot at him, and he was like, "Wait a minute, I'm not gonna allow that. I'm not gonna get hit." So that's what I get from that. Dirty Money says, "Oh, okay, you in Texas? No, I used to live in Texas. I currently live in Maryland, but I lived in Texas for about 8 to 10 years. And yeah, yep. I still wear the cowgirl hat. I was wearing these before I was living in Texas. Okay." But yes, like I was saying, y'all, I've been live every day since Saturday. I'm gonna take tomorrow off. It's gonna be a hard thing to do because I like coming on here talking to y'all. But I do have a couple videos dropping on Saturday and Sunday. Um, check those out if you're interested. Support the channel in either way. And yeah, I'll be back definitely on Monday for my quote unquote the check-in. And then I think Monday, Wednesday, the check-in, Thursday will be like unfiltered conversations where we talk about all this silly type stuff, right? Going on, out here in the world. Not the seriousness of like the immigration and ICE. That'll be Monday, Wednesday. But anyway, y'all, I am exhausted and tired. I am going to get off this live stream. I will talk to you all in a couple days. Stay warm and safe. Bye.